You think you can't focus because you're lazy, because your willpower is weak, because you just need more discipline. But what if I told you your brain was never designed for the place you work in? Open offices were built for collaboration, but psychologically, they're a trap. They turn your brain from a creative engine into a survival machine. Let's break down the real reason you can't focus in an open office, and why it's not your fault. When open offices first became popular, companies sold them as innovation hubs. No walls, no barriers, just freedom, communication, and creativity. But psychology tells a different story. Your brain evolved in small, safe spaces where you could control your environment. Walls meant safety, privacy meant calm, and the absence of eyes meant you could think clearly. But in an open office, that ancient part of your brain, the amygdala, is constantly scanning. Every cough, every movement, every whisper becomes a signal, not of collaboration, but of potential threat. Psychologists call this social vigilance, the subconscious state of monitoring your surroundings for cues of judgment or danger. And every time you do it, your cognitive energy drops. You're not distracted because you're weak. You're distracted because your biology is trying to protect you. Open offices promise connection, but science shows they actually create distance. A Harvard study found that when companies switched to open offices, face-to-face interaction dropped by almost 70%. Employees started sending more emails, using more chat messages, and avoiding eye contact. Why? Because constant visibility makes people self-conscious. You can't relax when you feel watched. You can't think deeply when your every movement feels performative. It's called evaluation anxiety, the fear of being judged while performing a task, and it quietly kills your creativity. Open offices don't make you more collaborative. They just make you better at pretending to be busy. Here's a fact. Every time you get interrupted, by noise, by movement, by a quick, "Hey, got a second?" it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes to fully recover its focus. That means even if you lose just 5 minutes of attention, you might lose half an hour of deep work. Psychologists call this the attention residue effect. When you switch from one task to another, your brain leaves a part of its focus behind, like footprints in wet cement. And those mental leftovers blur everything you do next. The open office is a factory of residue. You hear footsteps, a keyboard click, a laugh in the background, a Slack notification. Your brain doesn't know which one matters, so it tags them all as important. Soon, your thoughts feel fragmented, not because you lack focus, but because you've spent all of it on filtering noise. But there's something deeper. The problem isn't just the noise, it's being seen. In an open office, you're not just working, you're performing. Psychologists call this impression management, the mental effort of controlling how others perceive you. It's the reason people keep their posture straight even when they're exhausted. The reason you alt-tab between screens when your manager walks by. You're not managing your time, you're managing your image. And that invisible performance tax drains your mental energy faster than any task could. Every decision becomes a show. Do I look focused enough? Will this look lazy? Should I smile more? You don't notice it happening, but by noon your brain feels heavy, not from work, but from pretending. Here's where it gets darker. Open offices reward motion, not meaning. The more emails you send, the more people see you moving, typing, talking, the more productive you appear. And every visible action gives your brain a tiny hit of dopamine, the same neurotransmitter that drives addiction. Psychologists call this pseudo-productivity, the illusion of progress that feels good but leads nowhere. You start mistaking activity for accomplishment. You fill your day with meetings, small talk, instant replies. But the work that actually matters, it keeps slipping to tomorrow. It's not because you're lazy, it's because your environment rewards distraction. In a world where busyness is visible, deep work becomes invisible, and your brain, like any system, adapts to what gets rewarded. Most people try to fight back with noise-canceling headphones, but here's the truth. You can block out sound. You can't block out visibility. True focus isn't just about silence. It's about psychological safety. The feeling that you can drop your guard and think freely. Without it, your brain stays half alert, half defensive, stuck in a constant low-level fight or flight mode. That's why even after hours of sitting still, you feel exhausted, like your mind ran a marathon it never signed up for. The fix isn't isolation, it's boundaries, micro-boundaries, simple rituals that tell your brain, this space belongs to me. Turn your chair slightly away from the crowd. Mute your chat notifications during deep work blocks. Place a physical object, a notebook, a small plant, a sign that signals, do not disturb. These aren't just habits, they're psychological cues. Each one reclaims a piece of mental territory that the open office took away. Focus isn't a gift, it's an environment. When you give your attention to everything, you give your best to nothing. The truth is, open offices were never designed for deep thinkers. They were built for managers, not makers, for visibility, not creativity. But you don't have to wait for a redesign. You can rebuild focus from the inside out. Start by doing less visible work, but more valuable work. Turn off your metrics of appearance. Let silence be your strategy. Because in a world that confuses noise for progress, stillness becomes your superpower. So the next time you catch yourself zoning out, don't call it weakness. Call it awareness. Your brain isn't broken. It's just reacting exactly how it's designed to protect you from a world that demands constant exposure. Real focus doesn't come from discipline alone. It comes from designing your mind around peace, not pressure. You don't need a new to-do list. You need a new environment. And sometimes, that environment starts with a boundary only you can draw. Because here, we don't just work harder, we work consciously. We don't just chase productivity, we protect our attention. If you love understanding how psychology shapes your focus, hit subscribe, because this isn't just about working smarter. It's about waking up to how your mind really works.